Hello everyone, and welcome to TT-SRAC, brought to you by London Cyber School. Please remember that the copyright of this material is vested in London Cyber School Limited and that all our rights are reserved. Today we are going to deal with paraphrasing. So what is paraphrasing? Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, they define paraphrasing as express the meaning of something written or spoken using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. So how best do we go about paraphrasing? Now please remember that we are dealing with paraphrasing in the academic context, and we are focusing on academic and/or industry journals. So, in that context, I would suggest you apply the TT-SRAC method. Now, any method is a systematic approach, and so we break down the method and explain how it works as follows. The first step is to top and tail. You always start by reflecting on the research question or questions you are trying to answer. Then, you top and tail the article, chapter or section that is relevant. What that means is that you read the extract, the summary, and/or the introduction to the article. And then you skip everything and read the conclusion. And if the conclusion is a long conclusion, you scan read it. Having topped and tailed it, you are now in a position to make a broad assessment of whether or not this article is relevant to your specific topic or issues. If it is, of course, then you're going to proceed with the next step. If, however, you are convinced that it is not, my recommendation to you is save it on your database. You never know, you may have to access it again in the future. The next step is to go through the article, scanning it. But before you do that, again, remind yourself of the research question or questions that you're trying to address with your reading process. You then scan read as follows. You read the headings and only the first sentence of each paragraph. And you look at the graphics, the diagrams, and the figures along the way. And we always know that a picture paints 1,000 words, and we get a lot of information from these graphics, diagrams, and figures. The next step is relevance. Yet again, I would urge you to reflect on your research question or questions that you're trying to answer and determine whether or not this journal, article, or chapter is relevant to what you are trying to research. Clearly, if it is relevant, then we proceed. We read the relevant sections that you've just scanned through first. Not everything, just those sections that are relevant to your particular question or research issue. Then, of course, you're going to proceed to read the entire article. Please be careful with your time. It is your most valuable resource, so be frugal with it. Only spend time on material that is absolutely adding value to your research work. Now, of course, this article may not feel totally relevant at this point in time, and you may choose to skip a detailed read, but you will make a note, generally, of what you observed, and then file the article away carefully, preferably on your database, so that you can access it again, because later down the line you will be reflecting on something a little different, you'll have got into more detail, and there may just be elements of that particular research piece that you've read that will add value. So file it away carefully. Having decided now that you are going to read the article in detail, we need to proceed with a critical approach. Now, what do we mean by a critical approach? Well, in essence, it is an approach where you consider all of the issues or aspects that could affect your research question or position. Now that's not easy. The best way that I know of is to go about establishing the following. You look at who is affected, who could benefit by it, and keep asking the question who as often as possible to tease out the people, the organizations involved. Next, what is it all about? What is it that the author actually did in the research? What methodology was applied? And so one continues to ask the question what as many times as possible to tease out the facts. The next step, of course, is when. When was the research done? Try to establish the context, the situation that prevailed at the time that the research was actually done. Where was it done? Where was it relevant? Where was it applicable? Where was it not applicable? Where geographically was it relevant or irrelevant? Where was the context applicable? And of course, it can be any or all of those issues. The locality is of critical importance to your reading. The big question, why? Why the article was written in the first place? What was the motive of the researcher? Why was this specific issue raised at that point in time? The question why, as with all the others, can be asked over and over again. And the more you do that, the more critical your assessment or analysis of the article will be. And then finally one asks the question, how? How any of this relates to your research issues, your research problems, or your research perspective. That is absolutely essential in bringing about a critical approach to your reading. Now we are ready to unpack the article. Bear in mind, all along, it is important to write down your thoughts as they occur to you immediately. And I mean that with all sincerity. Make sure that while you are sitting reading, if a thought comes into your head, stop, write it down. Then, using your own words, record the relevant parts that support, oppose, change, or affect your research issue in any way, and how that relates to the research topic, issues, or questions that you are attempting to research. It's important always to look at what you're reading in the light of the particular topic, question, or issue that you are trying to resolve. Importantly, reflect again on your research questions and read through what you have written carefully. Once you have read it through, scan through the document yet again and see if there are elements that are now more relevant to you. I certainly hope that this has been of assistance to you. Good luck. Goodbye.